always going to tell you that creative is your moat, and the number one thing you have is your visual asset. It's your thing that differentiates you from everybody. So you have to invest in that the most.
All right, folks, you know what time it is. It's Adspend time. We are back, and we are back in studio. So I imagine, I don't know if I'll be able to
You're looking
match
good.
my wonderful co-host's wits, but I will be able to match his audio quality. And speaking of quality, we have the algorithm whisperer with us, Chase. Chase, how are you? Chase of Pencil fame, Pencil AI-ish, but we're going to drop the AI, just Pencil, right? It's like kind of Facebook stuff. But we've been bantering back and forth on Twitter, and it's just finally great to get you on live. And you're coming from the nice studio setup in the wife's closet, which is looking fabulous if you guys are watching this on the YouTubes. But before we jump in, Chase, kind of tell us kind of a little bit about your background and give us kind of the real skinny pitch on Pencil, and then we're going to toss it to Ash to give a little bit of update in terms of the e-commerce, what he's seen across his accounts. And then I want to talk, after people understand about kind of what Pencil does, we can talk about the human inputs into a creative. Ash has an incredible creative testing system, and just kind of banter back and forth from that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, really appreciate it. If you guys can see, I'm standing right underneath the attic. I come from a filmmaking background originally, but needed to make some money. And so someone was like, hey, you want to run our Facebook ads? And I was like, I will do whatever I have to do to pay my rent. And so moved from there to working for an e-commerce company, then worked in an agency, then ran performance and growth for the marketplace at House, where we spent a lot of money, marketed 9 million products, which was a very interesting kind of set of challenges to work with. And then from there, was advising a few companies, and I really loved what Pencil is doing. And I mean, Ash, you know about this really acutely. Getting someone to make 25 creatives for you that you need to test when you're spending $1 million, over the course of a day and a half, like no designer really wants to do that. They want to make, landing pages and other beautiful things. And so I felt it very acutely what Pencil was doing and building. And so I jumped over there. But I jumped over there to run customer success because we talked to performance people so much. And so since then, I've moved into running marketing and growth. So what marketing means is just all the branding and kind of demand gen. And then growth is all the platform stuff where we work on engagement, trying to get our customers to value as much as possible. So look at both sides of things. So essentially focusing on the D2C customer, and then focusing on how to make it a great B2B platform.
Amazing.
And then the skinny on Pencil is Pencil exists to help D2C brands scale their creative testing through creative automation.
Oh, incredible. Yeah. Where's the name come from?
So it's a play on words. Essentially, what we always say is the pencil was the most important thing for creativity in the 20th century. And we think AI is going to be the most important thing for creativity in the 21st century.
Yeah, that's not horrible.
Yeah, not me. That's
right,
our CEO. That's our CEO. That's not me.
All right, shout out. And you guys are West Coast, yeah? You're LA based?
Well, we are, because I run all the US ops, but we're actually Singapore originally based. So our two co-founders are in Singapore. So I work across many time zones. Shout out Singapore, great place. But yeah, they're over there. We have some people in Europe, people here. So we're kind of global team working together all the time.
Without digressing too much, how do you deal with the time zones? I've done some Southeast Asia stuff. It's impossible. It's really challenging.
First of all, my team is super flexible, but kids don't allow you to sleep. So it's actually been a blessing this time, legit. I'll be up with the newborn who's 2 months old, and I'll be slacking while I'm putting him to sleep with the team over there. But it's a challenge. I think the big one in terms of just helping people understand is I'm really obsessed with pre-read. So I send people a lot of stuff beforehand so that we can do as much stuff offline as possible before we jump online. And then we try to have short, quick burst meetings, but it's because we spent all the time beforehand. And I'll hang up a meeting if someone hasn't read. I'll be like, well, you didn't read it, so you don't value my time, I don't value yours, fuck off.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Look at this, people. You're getting management tips, creative tips. What don't we do here, Ash? What don't we do?
It took a long time to learn. So
Yeah, no, so I've recently moved from IC to an executive, and there's just a lot of things that you have to get through. And I hate meetings, but there's just a certain amount of like synchronicity that you need to have. Like all my direct reports, we have one on ones, yada yada. But they actually do the same thing. Well, they'll fill out. I ask them 3 questions, basically: biggest win for the week, biggest opportunity, and what you're looking forward to most. And then at the end of the meeting, I'll always ask them if I'm blocking them from anything. And that's kind of how we do it. And you can tell I don't hang up on people because they're in person. So I don't know. That's like a get the hell out of the office kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
don't have the balls for that yet. But I do like we're very like super liberal in a lot of the ways, like 10 to 3 schedule in the office Monday through Thursday. Fridays is a flex day, but there are some strict things. Like if it doesn't exist, if it's not on my calendar, or if it's not in Notion, it doesn't exist. And then they all fill out their kind of little one-on-one things before they come to the meeting. And quite frankly, like you said, Chase, I mean, it makes the meeting just insanely more productive, where you're just not grab assing and like it's like, hey, let's use this time to, because at the end of the day, everybody hates meetings. If you're a builder, in my opinion, if you're like a builder or a productive person, you hate meetings. But again,
Yeah.
there's some times in life where there's just a certain aspect of like, the necessary evils that can help synchronize stuff. But okay, off my executive soapbox, pitching it over to my incredibly good looking, I'll see you next week, by the way, classic. You got
Excited.
us the appointments, right? Classic car show, or where we
Yes.
going? The
Yep.
Manhattan Car
Classic
Club.
car club. Yep.
Classic Car Club. Ash is
Gotta
going to
show you
take
a
me
good
out on the
time, bro.
town.
Come on.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. If you're in New York, hit us up. We have some invites still for the June 22nd. Actually, this will probably drop next week, so you won't be able to come, but you'll be able to have some FOMO. So, anyways, without further ado, Ash, tell me how the ad accounts are doing. What's new over in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, so things have been a little bit rough lately. We were like doing pretty well like March, April, beginning of May, up until that week of like Memorial Day, where I think it was very seasonal on what brands were doing, promotions, this and that. I know we talked about it last couple times, but the week after, things kind of like stabilized, and then again now, I think with Father's Day coming up,
Yeah,
the market is just absolutely horrific. Consumer confidence is like at its lowest point since the peak of the pandemic. So not a lot of good things that are happening in the world right now. It's tough to like also not take it personally because you're like, well, what am I doing wrong? Where is it like you have to remember like there's a buyer on the other side, right? There's a
uh,
user on the other side of the screen, and you have to remember that there's so much going on, right? Like
yeah,
nobody's ready to pull out their wallet for anything. The fact that like gas prices are unbelievably high, this and that, like your portfolio is. Anyways, let's not talk about it. But basically, what we've been trying to do is just continuously test. That's it. Like that's the only thing we can possibly do. What I've really noticed in our ad accounts is that conversion rate has dropped, but also what's even crazier is that AOV has dropped. So what I am seeing is that people are spending, but they're spending less, right? So whereas people may be buying like 2 to 3 bottles of like collagen protein, they're probably just buying one, right? So I feel
yeah,
like yeah, they're kind of spending their money a little bit more cautiously, right?
yeah,
And I don't know if it's a indication of lower AOV. Not much has changed on the website, right? Like we're using the same landing pages, kind of changing up the design and everything, but the AOV factors haven't changed as much. So I think what we're gonna try and do is just continuously just try to test creative. We have to pull back budgets. It's
yeah,
unfortunate, but we got to pull back. And I think that's one of the biggest things where talking to you, Chase, and trying to understand like, all right, what are certain things that are trending on that creative outlook, right? I know for us we've honestly switched over completely to like static assets.
yeah,
We are still using like some of our TikTok ads on Facebook too. And another thing that I just recently started seeing to work are GIFs and or videos of our static images with a little bit of motion.
yeah,
So not full on like production value TikTok style, but literally like um what we'll do is like our graphic designers will send over the PSDs to the video editor, and what he'll do is just animate like couple things, just so that one, you're also taking up that video inventory on Facebook and not just the static and photo inventory. But I mean, that's just kind of what's working right now. So I'm just curious that as we go down this road of like, also the other aspect is like UGC content, right? Like
Mm.
there's just this plethora of UGC creators all of a sudden. And it's like, okay, now people, I don't know if that just becomes like how we used to have banner fatigue. Like, is there UGC fatigue, you know? So I guess Chase, like, I'm going to open up to you in the sense like, you guys have access to like so much data. What are you guys seeing? And are these trends, you know, constantly changing? Is there something that's consistently working? Or yeah, I mean, you tell us what's going on in that landscape.
So what we found when people have economic headwinds, they go back to simpler things. So statics become like kind of stock and trade. And the reason is this: they need less help to actually make the content. So people will use static ads because they can go into Canva and throw it together themselves. There's not kind of this infrastructure that they need to put it together. So we see kind of the acceleration of static ads. This happened, by the way, at the beginning of the pandemic. We saw like video just fall through the floor. And then for about 4 to 5 months, people were doing that. The kind of the caveat here with statics is there is an upward bound of what statics will do because they fatigue a lot faster than a video does. Like
Mm.
I've found consistently, static doesn't scale, but it will. You can consistently iterate on it and find like that winning combination and just change little variables and get wins. I don't know if that's something you're seeing, Ash.
Yeah, 100%. I think all of last year we were using like influencer videos that
Mm,
lasted us months. Like I'm talking
Mhm.
almost 7 figures worth of spend on just one video. And again, it was influencer related, and so there's that caveat too. But even now, like I'll have maybe around low 6 figures on certain graphics. Like I have this ad today that I was running, and it has like 1.1 1,100 comments, a ton of
There you go.
shares. Like, it's like, if you look at it, this is a rock star ad. Everybody's talking about like, oh, I just bought this. All our customers are commenting on it. It's a sick ad, right? I'm running it today. I have $100 CAC on it, and like the CTR is super low
oof.
because it's just been running for. I mean, and again, I don't know if 6 figures is that threshold. Like 150,000 on just that one ad is probably a lot, but like Facebook isn't going to deliver it to new people because it's run its course, right? So that's why you have to like take the same elements and replicate it on another one. But there's something about just like having these like social proof that you have to give up, and it's like, as a marketer, it's heartbreaking because it's like you spend so much
Can't do
money
it.
on getting all this proof, and unfortunately, things just die out. So yeah, I totally agree with you there.
I have a couple questions
Mhm.
for you. One for Ash. Do you ever put those into kind of like a champion campaign and just put like bid caps or cost caps on them? Because when I was running my agency, when I just couldn't like good night sweet prints those, I had to just like, dude,
Yeah,
this is if let them play, if you know what I mean,
if they
put a
want one,
cost
yeah,
cap on it, and like if you can hit the economics, let them play. Because I there was a couple ads too that were just absolute evergreens where it's like I just couldn't do it. I couldn't like I would reuse the creative and kind of to your point use these other angles, but I had a couple bangers too where in that like 11,000 or 11,000, 1,100, 1,500 kind of comments, and there were awesome too because there was like comments but then objections but then the people would come back against those
yep,
object like it was just perfect just like
yeah.
absolute
It should
chef's
always
kiss
convert. I don't know why it doesn't
always.
always convert.
Well, my thesis is because ultimately Facebook's a click machine. And so what would happen is they're going to serve it to people and people are going to engage, click, blah, 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 but they're not going to. So it's still going to get spend because Facebook's like, oh, people love this in the algorithmic
Engaging,
feed,
yeah.
but they're not converting for you. So that's why I put in the cost caps on that. So
Yeah. No, maybe you're
just
right. Yeah, 100%.
throw
Because
that in a
even
cost cap.
now, yeah, even now in the ad set, I have 5 other ads that don't have as much engagement, like a couple hundred comments. This one gets 90% of the spend, but
It'll
the
always,
highest CPA, right?
yeah.
So I honestly, my whole mentality, like I was using cost caps towards the end of last year when we were kind of scaling back with those ads that had a ton of engagement, and they did perform well. But you're absolutely right. I should bring that back. I've just like changed my whole mentality on media buying where it's like I need to make the whole media buying process easier and like not messing with caps every day, bids every day, this and that. But I mean, you're right. I mean, I don't want to say goodbye to these rock stars, so maybe I have to get back to it.
So
Throw it's
I'll
like
give you a
make
counter. which is if he dies, he dies. If you guys know that reference. And
Of
so,
course, Rocky 4.
yeah,
Come on, let's
okay,
go.
thank you. That's literally our family motto. Uh, um, our strategy here is twofold. So on the media buying side, cost caps. I'm going to give you one though, Ash. I'm sure you've done it before. Essentially, put your cost cap at that efficient number that you're looking for. So let's just call it 50, since you were saying 100 and like your eyes were bulging. Let's call it 50. Put your spend, if it's supposed to be 1,000 a day, put your spend at 3,000. Essentially, the algorithm is looking for liquidity, right? And so same thing always, right? So you're just trying to give it liquidity always. And so you need to almost over lever the spends because it's trying to find efficient people while still having that liquidity. So the big one for all people to remember is don't fight the algorithm unless you're like, the cost cap is fighting the algorithm. So you need to do something to essentially overreach on that, and it will still find it for you because they will have a big problem on their hands if they deliver inefficient customers on cost caps. So they always have to find it. So it's that's kind of a hack that has never not worked. Maybe it's like plus minus 5% on either side, but it kind of consistently on huge spends works, on small spends works, and everyone should be doing it, especially kind of given everyone's unit economic issues right now.
Yeah, no, we used to do it, and it did work very well. Like you said, it's just not scalable, right? I think it's like one of those things where like you're just looking for efficient conversions with your rockstar winners, and then in the meantime, you're still finding your new winner. So I mean, it's a win-win, honestly.
People are still going to see Mick Jagger on tour, right? And this guy's like Bones and stuff, and like he's not the rock star, but hey, that's like that's the bid cap cost cap campaign. Let them run, let the people buy the tickets when they want to buy the tickets, and then let your new Justin Bieber's or whatever, or shout out, he just got his face paralyzed thing, but terrible stuff there. But you get what I'm saying. The new rock stars, kind of new generation comes up, but
I like it.
Chase, what do you see across ad units in terms of like carousels, or are people doing any DPA stuff or anything like that? Is copy or headline a big deal? Because you guys do pretty much the whole ad, right? You do the headline, the copy, the description. What are you seeing in those sense? Are those, because some people have some different views. I think and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, or you can tell me what your hierarchy is, but definitely like the asset is probably the biggest hierarchy, or that's the top of the hierarchy. Then I'd probably go headline, copy, description, CTA. Are you guys kind of aligned in that hierarchy of importance, or do you see it differently?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to tell you that creative is your moat, and the number one thing you have is your visual asset. It's your thing that differentiates you from everybody. So you have to invest in that the most. Your copy is great; it's another selling point, but like I would call it like 25% of the pie at like the upward bound of that, right? And if people are
like
focused
the
on
first
your
two sentences, as well.
And if people are focused on that, like you're kind of fucked anyway. The creative should get them across the line. So I've also found, we did a huge analysis end of last year where if you're writing more than 2 to 3 lines of copy and they're reading it, not an incremental customer. Same thing if they're watching more than 20 seconds, not really an incremental customer, because like they're going, essentially like the drop off of first purchasers is like if they're not sold in 20 seconds, they're not really sold. So they're going to be retargeting, or they're going to take 2 to 3, 4, 5 touches to get there. But that person who gets the thing in 10 seconds, like when you see a billboard and you go to someone's website, they generally have a quicker time to purchase. So you know that they're going to cost you less to acquire. You're going to be able to get them in and get, first dollar payback much faster.
That's mind blowing. So we have a new update coming out on the creative dashboard called the Creative Cockpit. It's going to be awesome. We're actually throwing a cool event in Austin, Top Gun Creative. I'll get you guys more deets there. But the too long didn't read is I'm actually fascinated by this, Chase, because I want to see the creatives and then look at my new customer CPA against that kind of stuff. Because that's really, I never thought about that. Because Ash he is an absolute king of the new customer CPA. I mean, that's pretty much what he not that he throws myrrh to the wind, but that's pretty much your buying metric, right? That's if you want to put more gas on the fire or not. Yeah, your North Star. That's a fascinating point. I've never thought about that.
I think the big call that I would have there is essentially think about your methodology when you're running through your ads. So like a marketer looks at it differently. How many times do you look at something for a minute? And if you do look at it for a minute, are you actually convinced? Like just take away all of the science that we put into it, and think about it just as a consumer. If I'm looking at a video for a minute, like, I'm not buying that thing. I need to be convinced again. They're going to have to hit me with retargeting or an email or something. But if I get something and I'm like, oh, that's the thing, and this happens probably on a weekly basis, and it happens in 10 seconds, and I go to the website, it's the website's job to convert me. It's the ad's job to get me interested in the brand and the offering. And so that's not going to happen. If that doesn't happen in less than 15 seconds, it's a bad ad.
Yeah, I agree.
That's interesting. Do you see any of those commonalities across different AOVs? Because I think I would generally agree with you, but I do think there is something to be said of product education when you're charging me a bunch more money. So if I'm buying, $1,000, $1,500, 2,000 pair of sneakers or something like that, I got to be sold. I can't it can't just be this beautiful girl. It can't just be the aesthetic. I need to be kind of taken down. And maybe that's your point of the retargeting, where maybe I don't, because I'm always a believer too, where I think the purchase already happens a lot of times. It's more so you have to give them the story to then tell themselves to actually do the action, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, I mean, I can go back even to House. One of our biggest drivers was when we were running ads for couches and stuff for your bathroom. So we'd have amazing margins on them, but it would take like 4 times, 5 times for people to go for it. But it was a $2,500 purchase. So we're like, $500 for this person, and we own the product. Like, let's go. And then we would build like DPAs for that with kind of customized images for it. And it was just smashed it because the algorithm would serve it. I didn't have to do anything. I looked really good. I'd have the ads running and be like, oh man, Chase is really smart. I'm like, no, I'm really not. The algorithm is smart. Absolutely, AOV has something to do with it. So I would call it like sub 250 is an easier purchase. Plus 250 is a consideration purchase where it takes more time. And so you either need to, at the beginning of the purchase cycle, go heavy on social proof, so that people like are buying it, especially for that higher AOV product. Or you need to know that like in your kind of buying flow, whether it's in your ad stack or kind of the entire purchase, like you get an email the first time, is like pump that social proof so that they know that there are other people like them who also have money who are buying this stuff. So they get FOMO, plus they know that it's a good product. And I've seen that kind of consistently bear out, whether it's in a email flow, an SMS flow, or just doing an ad stack flow, like what we like to call it.
Interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's super awesome.
It's got me thinking.
Yeah,
got me thinking. Well,
I see the wheels turning over there.
That kind of like, okay, so that basically will lead me to my next question. Is like, is there anything right now that you're seeing creative style wise that's been kind of trending right now? And like, does that change often? Like, do you see that changing often, or has it always been kind of consistent throughout?
So I would maybe pivot my answer towards, I see assets, the type of assets people use change. And like the styles of ads kind of remain the same. There's kind of the tried and true things, like 5 real styles of ads that people ever use. It's more, what are the inputs that they're leveraging? And so, for instance, we talked about a little bit at the top, kind of the rise of UGC, which has led to kind of the saturation and people becoming a little fatigued on it because it doesn't feel very organic anymore. So what I see is a huge amount of everyone brings UGC. And so actually, when I see an ad that doesn't have UGC, I love it. And so same thing when people bring in stuff, it actually feels a lot different. And we have a lot of customers who will get frustrated when the algorithm doesn't use the whole UGC. And we're like, you need to give them a few different feels so that they can get a sense of the entire product and brand that they're buying, not just this person that's talking to them. And we find that actually bears out a lot better than just the straight UGC ads with, the captions, kind of the standard operating procedure you're seeing these days.
TikTok,
and it's literally exactly TikTok style. And it's literally because that has become so ubiquitous that it's become played out. And so just doing different things, using different. So like, this is a funny one. I got a complaint today. The UGC then has a product shot on a styled background. I'm like, but this is the product you're trying to sell, right? They're not even holding the product because it's a Billo ad, right? So they're not talking about the product, it's just a talking head. And nothing wrong. Shout out to Billo, love those guys. But that's not going to sell in this market where it is just so competitive. You have to have different things, and you have to hammer your brand and your product because that's the value that you're providing to a person. And so my answer to you, Ash, is I see that this has risen. Same thing as like I talked about statics. What I would say to cut the other direction is don't let a creator always own your brand. You need to own your brand.
Ooh, I like that.
You own the colors, you
Yep.
own your brand messaging, you own your product, and that is your unique value selling proposition. So let an algorithm or your designer or whatever you want to do use those things and let creators amplify it. But it shouldn't be, Rob, I heard you say it's fuel, not the fire. Don't let creators be the fire. It's just fuel.
Yeah.
I love that.
So like for example, a lot of things that we're doing right now is we have our like creative agency that does like all of our photography, like just lifestyle imagery, and then we use that as the basis, right, of the asset. Then what we're doing is we're sending that to the graphic designers. Hey, add these elements on top of it, right? So, but also on the flip side, there are times where also just product renders do well on like a white background or whatever type of background they want to put up. So I'm curious, like, are like, because there's times where like the renders will outperform and it's literally just render white background text, right? So I'm just curious, like, are you seeing similar where like lifestyle photography with a little bit of elements and then like, or like renders and like lower quality stuff that kind of stands out, or a mix of the two plus UGC, like what kind of assets do you feel
Yeah.
like people should be like? Because I know with Pencil, right, you have to upload your
Mm.
assets, right? So
Yeah.
like if somebody was to sign up to Pencil right now, what kind of assets do you think people should be uploading for the best chance to win?
Yeah, it's a great question. So to answer your first thing, so imagine you're in a photo in like a gallery. Like if they have like colors everywhere and then the images are close together, like nothing really stands out. But what they do is they have a really stark white background, and then they have paintings 10 feet apart, and you're like, shit, look at those paintings. Wow. Now imagine your feed and you're in it and it's just color, 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 and then you do hit them with white, and it's like, whoa, what's that? So it's like very much how do you find blue ocean within the feed is kind of a really big one. So in terms of the second question, which is what assets should they bring in? I'm a big person of like you need to have distribution to give the algorithm like the chance to play, right? You need to have a little bit of like range. So same thing, you want to have a sandbox that you live within, but like if it's this big, don't expect much. If it's this big, like there's a lot of ranges. So I always recommend 2 to 3 videos that are longer than 10 seconds and 4 to 5 different like product shots or brand images. And the system will then kind of do its magic, because what it can do with the product images, it will remove all the background and then put like different colors from your brand kit on there. And then it will animate, put like, text animations and animate some of the different brand lifestyle shots, and then add in different clips of the video. And what it's trying to do essentially is it reads what has worked in your ad account, and then it reads what is in the image, and then it reads what you've signaled it to write about, and it composes all of those 3 things together to give you kind of the highest expected outcome. So the idea being, how do you give it enough stuff to do that really well? Because it's shit in, shit out, but if you give it gold, it's going to be a lot. You're going to get bars, right? So how do we stack gold bars in terms of ads? The ad accounts that do that consistently crush. I have people who will literally email me in the middle of the night, like, do you see what's happening right now? This is incredible. It's just because we're homies now. So it's like, I'm in it with them. Like I just care about their business because they've been with us since the beginning. But then, we all work with customers who are unhappy. The ones that don't do it, you go and audit their account and they have not put any effort in. And that's not necessarily their fault. They didn't have any of the assets to begin with, but it's not a good fit. Right. And so I think the thing we've learned is we can't help everybody. They need to be able to help themselves. We just need to let them know what the actual kind of floor is. And so the last portion I'll answer on that is, I really believe, look at what your customers are engaging with, look at who your competitors are, and then look at where there's blue ocean. And then you have those assets in hand. For instance, you're talking about the white backgrounds. Use that. Like, try it. What's the problem? Test everything. Our data across, again, 600 plus million is, if you test 10 ads, you will find 1 that is an incremental profit driver, 2 to 3 that are revenue drivers, which you need, and then the rest are shit. So how fast are you going to test 10? We ask that to everybody. Some people take 6 weeks and they're unhappy. Some people do it in 3 days and they're like, fuck, I found something. It's scaling. It's incredible. And so it's really up to the people who are running the ad accounts. But we try to arm them with all that information. But, there's a lot of business things that are going on that we can't control. So we just try to control high level outcomes from the platform. And yeah, it's worked. It works when people do the work.
Yeah. I'm curious if you guys are able to see, or does the algorithm take into account the amount of like engagement something gets versus strictly sales?
So you can pivot essentially how the predictions and the algorithm are looking at stuff. So it will, for instance, when you generate, you can do something. You say, look, I'm looking for ROAS, and it will make ads based on what it's seen have ROAS. If you say I want CPA, it will do that. So will it go against what is the kind of highest predicted outcome? And so the algorithms have a 73% chance of predicting a winning ad. It's pretty good, but it has a 97% chance of predicting a losing ad. So if it says it's going to lose for CTR and you're going for a traffic campaign, don't fucking do it. But if it says it's going to crush on CPA, you know that maybe your CTRs will be not as good, but you're going to find more high value customers because it looks like things that have been in your account already that have performed. So yeah, that's been one. And frankly, we haven't productized that very well to be able to get people to understand that, because it's still one of those questions like, well, what's this? What's that? And so that's something we're working on going forward.
I had one question, Rabba. Sorry. We had Chase, like I had set up an account with Pencil, right? And there's another thing that I find really interesting is that the AI is able to tell you the level of fatigue a creative has.
Yeah.
How does that, like, how do you figure that out?
So I'm not going to say it's the AI. What we've built into the system is something that tracks essentially your core metrics over time and watches them degrade. And so it's essentially saying, like, look, if your metric your CTRs last month were 3.5, and now this month across your account are on these different ones, these ads you've been running are 2.75, it's been degrading over the last 30 days. And so essentially our big, like, this was one of the things that I worked to build with the team really directly, was people don't understand what's fatiguing because it's really hard to measure, because you have to go do all these little things. It's really annoying and really frustrating. So we built that so you could get a really quick view and know that you need to swap out the ad or do something with it and take action. And so that's what it is. It's not like a very like scientific algorithmic thing. It's just we look at the ad account and essentially we structure it so that it's looking month over month and gives you a score on what the percentage of fatigue is looking like.
That's amazing,
man. That is really cool. The algorithmic double dip.
Yeah.
I know, Ash, you have a hard stop in almost 2 minutes. Yeah. So let's get to the creepy question, and then we can plug Pencil some more, plug mentorpass for you, and then Avi, and then we'll call it a pod. So the creepy question for today is, do you guys think there's more dogs or children in the U.S.? Chase, you're up first.
Owned dogs or just dogs in general?
That's a good point. I don't know.
There has to be dogs. They proliferate way more. Like if someone has 7 kids, it's like it's on the news. If someone has 7 dogs, you're like, oh, it has to be more dogs.
Oh, that's just Mike next door.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're team dogs. What do you about you, Ash?
I feel like it's kids because not everybody has a dog.
Interesting. So I think I.
But again, obviously not everyone has a kid, but I think there's more kids.
So let me see if I can do.
Like, think about all the schools versus like how many like doggy daycares there are in a town.
And also, to be fair, I am defining kids as minors, so under 18. Does that sway you at all, Chase, or no?
I'm just gonna let it ride. If he dies, he dies.
Okay. Drum roll. It's actually dogs. 89.7 million to 73 million. So actually a fair amount. So Chase's of course you can trust the guy. He got the crazy question right. Of course you can trust him making your ads. The double algorithmic dip over here.
Yes, sir.
AI, baby.
Yeah.
AI, amazing. Awesome, Chase. So how can people get more involved in Pencil? What can they do? It doesn't matter how much you're spending. Is like, if you spend more, is it better? Or can lower spenders get involved? Or is this more of like a kind of an enterprise? Like if I'm spending proper guap, I need to get Pencil, or I can use it as smaller stores, or who's kind of the person that's going to get the most value from Pencil?
So we just launched something called Pay As You Go. So essentially anyone can go in there and they'll get 3 free ads a month. We'll help them set up their ad account or their workspace. So we wanted to give it to everybody and just be super generous. The best customers we see are spending kind of above 10K because they're able to really leverage the speed. But if you need an ad or two and you don't want to, sit and work with Canva templates, which is miserable, you can just join us at trypencil.com, which, by the way, everyone calls it trypencil on calls, and I'm like, dude, we need to buy pencil.com from this like weird venture fund in Asia. So yeah, that's next on the docket. So yeah, you can get involved with us there, and then you can follow us Pencil AI on Twitter.
Amazing.
Trying to be as cool as the dudes at Triple Whale.
Amazing. Well, and you're also on the Twitters.
Yes,
What's your
I
handle?
am.
Plug your handle. You're a fun follow.
Yeah, CR Moseni. If you want to, get very limited value, yeah, follow me. I just hype people up.
Amazing.
Yeah. He's a big hype man.
And I can absolutely empathize with the verb in the URL. We're actually finally going to triplewhale.com. We're moving the app over to app. Yeah, we're getting rid of the try. It's cleaner that way. That's two social network jokes in the same podcast. I need to go to. I'm tiring it out. See, if I was in pencil right now, I would have joke fatigue, just yelling at me. I need new jokes. Ash, hit me up. Tell me where to follow you. What should we do if we go to a vitamin shop? Are you on mentorpass? You know what to do.
Yes. Follow me on Twitter at Ashford Milani. Also on mentorpass. If you need help with anything paid related, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, I'm your guy. And if you need some collagen in your life, hit a vitamin shop, check it out. It's down the road from you. I guarantee it. If you're there, take a picture of Avi on the shelf and send it to me. But yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Also, big shout out to Ron. Had his beautiful baby boy. Amazing. Well done there, Ron and wifey. Love you there. All right, folks, that's it. We're 2 minutes over. Sorry, Ash, but I will close it out. If you want to get more involved with Triple Whale, we are trytriplewhale.com. We're on the Bird app at Triple Whale. And then I am also on MentorPass. This is actually a MentorPass E. I don't know what that's called, but this is like jet fuel, man. It's crazy. So really fun stuff. Had another call today, and it's just shout out to Kenny. He was actually on the previous one if you want to hear more about how it works and stuff like that. But really, really cool platform. What else we got? Whale Mail. Tuesday, Thursdays, amazing newsletter. Sign up for that. And then again, ping us on the Twitters if you want to come out. We have a ton of in real life events going on this summer. So hit me up. Ash or I can get you invited to the coolest, hippest parties. Chase, my man, thank you so much from the East Coast or West Coast, excuse me, the Best Coast. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, I forgot because Ash is East Coast, West Coast. Amazing. Meet in the middle in Austin. Fantastic. So amazing. So thanks so much, everybody. That's another episode of Adspend. If you like this, subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then tweet at us and tell us what we can do better, what we do great. Again, Chase, so much, man. Thank you for coming on the show. Hit me up if you're ever out in Austin, and I'll see you next week, Mr. Milani.
See you there.
Cheers, gents. Thank you.
All right, we're out.